Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, the Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Give Sade, welcome to the Kiran Rai Show. How have you been? I hope you guys have been keeping well and keeping safe. Now, today's episode that we've got is about Vaisakhi. Pure jag te Vaisakhi asi manai diya, and it's very special to us, isn't it? So today we're going to talk about Vaisakhi, where it comes from, how the generation before used to see it, and how the generation today sees it. The things that maybe have changed or haven't changed, but how is it celebrated across the world? And how do we see Vaisakhi and where does it actually originate from? So we're going to talk about all those things today. And today on my guest panel, I have Gurmeet Uncle Ji that's on the phone, that's with us today. Welcome to the show, Uncle Ji. Thank you so much for being here.
Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
So, Uncle Ji, today we're talking about Vaisakhi, and Vaisakhi is during April time, and the day that we actually celebrate Vaisakhi, they say that Vaisakhi was the start of Khalsa, it was the start of Sikhi. How long has it been with yourself and your family? How long have you guys been celebrating it?
Well, I mean, born in the UK many years, and looking at Vaisakhi, how it's progressed and how it's moved forward, because generations have now began to understand. Galia Vaisakhi, it's such a great feeling when you understand what it's about. Sometimes we look at the generation today, they celebrate Vaisakhi, but there's no real deep meaning. And if you understand the deep meaning of it, and the celebration of the Khalsa Panth when it created, and how it's a new season, a harvest season. It's one of those ones where even when we were young, we didn't understand it much because there was no access to information like today on YouTube and other pages where you can get information at your fingertips. So now you can research Vaisakhi as much as you want to, but it's not just about researching it, it's understanding the values and the principles behind it.
Yeah, because I feel nowadays most people say ਅਸੀਂ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰੇ ਜਾਣਾ ਆ Vaisakhi ਨੂੰ ਮੱਥਾ ਟੇਕਣ ਜਾਣਾ, but when even the younger generation that go, they go because either they want to go or they're told to go. There's a lack of understanding of where Vaisakhi actually came from, and I've in our household we my mum, my nanny, they're Amritari, and we've got our own separate room where we in the house gets lively 4 o'clock, but we have part on all the time. So we have those values that's, it's engraved in us. Whereas nowadays, the new generation that's coming, it's not like the same. Why is that?
It's not just, sometimes people think Pagmania, he knows about Sikhi. It's not about that. There's so much depth behind it. Even though I went to school, Judiwala, Pagmani, Sikhi, everything, I was told, my parents, had a Judy and fine, go to school. And there was times when I thought, why have I got this Judy? Why have I got this Pag? I didn't understand. And even though we were told, Godur Jaya Karo, and more youngsters now, they probably get told by their parents, Godur Jaya Karo, they don't give an explanation of why go to the Gurdwara. Sometimes people say, but Rab mere vich hega andar, kar hega, Rab is everywhere. And I understand that. But when you go to the Gurdwara, there's some sort of something you get out of when you sit there, and you get so into the Bani that you listen. You may not understand it, but whatever you get from that, it's over the last 5-10 years now, I think I've got more into Bani because I've understood it. As they say, as you get older, you get wiser, and some youngsters are very wise. But and I say to people, explore Bani. It's so deep. It's not just going to the Gurdwara and going there, matha taking, and you matha take, sit down and think, okay, 5 minutes later I'm going to go home. You got to go deeper than that. And it's something which I tell a lot of the youngsters nowadays. I'm not Amritari. I don't preach Sikhi. I just understand the values of it and what I've learned as I'm getting older and what I understand. And there's a better connection now with the Almighty than I've ever, because spiritually I've now become better. कभी कभी बंदे की दौड़ लगी होती है, सवेर ਨੂੰ ਉੱਠਣਾ ਦੌੜ, ਚਾਹ ਦਾ ਕੱਪ ਪੀ ਕੇ ਕੰਮ ਤੇ ਜਾਓ. And the biggest connection is if you don't connect with the man upstairs, you're too busy. And it's not about having a busy life. The spiritual life is something which I strongly just recommend to people, is get connected. People say, "Kidda connection kariye? Kidda connection?" Go to the Gurdwara, speak to somebody. Apa Gurdwara janne aj, and youngsters say we don't understand it. But if you go to some of the Gurdwara, they've got a big screen with the Hukmanama on it and explains in English. And I strongly recommend even Gurdwara to translate the messages to the youngsters, because those youngsters are our future generations. So if we don't think of them now, ਅੱਗੇ ਕੀ ਬਣਨਾ ਸਾਡਾ? ਹਾਂ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਜੋਸ਼ ਆਂਦਾ ਵਿਸਾਖੀ ਆ ਜਾਈਏ ਮੇਲਿਆਂ ਤੇ ਜਾਈਏ ਆਹ ਕਰੀਏ ਇਹ ਕਰੀਏ, which is fantastic, but they gotta know why. What is Sikhi?
I mean, this Sikhi actually started from from Vaisakhi. ਜੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਵਿਸਾਖੀ ਵੱਲ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਆ ਤਾਂ ਵਿਸਾਖੀ ਉਦ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਵਿਸਾਖੀ ਉਦੋਂ ਉਸ ਦਿਨ ਨੂੰ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਜਿਸ ਦਿਨ ਸਿੱਖੀ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਹੋਈ ਸੀ ਖਾਲਿਸਤਾਨ ਉਦੋਂ ਜਨਮ ਹੋਇਆ ਸੀਗਾ ਜਿਸ ਦਿਨ ਵਿਸਾਖੀ ਹੋਈ ਸੀਗੀ ਕਈ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਵਿਸਾਖੀ some people call it Baisakhi and it happened if we go back in time and go back in history it actually happened when when the Mughals weren't very happy and they literally wanted to ਸਾਰੇ ਨੇ ਜਿੰਨੇ ਵੀ harvest ਕਰਦੇ ਸੀ their land their farms ਜਿੰਨੀ ਵੀ ਆਪਾਂ everything that we plant and we grow ਉਹ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਜੀਣ ਨਹੀਂ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਸੀਗੇ and they were causing so much trouble. ਫਿਰ Guru Gobind Singh Ji they actually said we'll do something about it. So then Guru Gobind Singh Ji ਨੇ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਇਕੱਠੇ ਕੀਤਾ ਸੀਗਾ ਅਨੰਦਪੁਰ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਨੂੰ on that actual day which is celebrated on the 13th 14th of April every year. And ਜਦੋਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਉਸ ਦਿਨ ਨੂੰ ਜਦੋਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਇਕੱਠੇ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੇ ਕੀਤਾ ਤਾਂ he stepped out and he said who will give me who will give me their actual ਕੌਣ ਸਰ ਕਟਾਊਗਾ ਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਲਈ and people got scared because they didn't really understand what was going on. But then there were five actual people who actually stood up and said, I have no fear and I will bow down to the Guru. And they actually then, stepped forward and went in and ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤ ਛਕਾਇਆ ਸੀਗਾ ਤੇ ਜਦੋਂ ਨਾ people were still shocked. Some people actually ran away from when they were actually sitting ਜਿਹੜੇ ਇੰਨੇ ਲੋਕੀ ਇਕੱਠੇ ਹੋਏ ਸੀ ਅਨੰਦਪੁਰ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਤੋਂ people actually got up and stepped out and just ran away from it because they thought we don't know what he's doing, this is really scary. And as Holly Guruji came out and ਜੋ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਖੰਡੇ ਵਾਲਾ ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤ ਪੀ that unu it was like made out I think it was made out of steel. This is my thinking of it. It was made out of steel ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤ ਪਾ ਕੇ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਪਾਣੀ ਪਾਇਆ and then ਗੁਰਬਾਣੀ ਪੜ੍ਹਦੇ ਸੀਗੇ ਪੰਜਾਂ ਬਾਣੀਆਂ ਦਾ ਪਾਠ ਪੜ੍ਹਿਆ ਤਾਂ ਪਾਠ ਪੜ੍ਹ ਕੇ ਤਾਂ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਮਿਠਾਸ ਪਾਈ ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤ ਪੜ੍ਹਿਆ ਉਹ ਪੜ੍ਹ ਕੇ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਉਹ ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤ ਬਣ ਗਿਆ and then when that amrit was then made ਉਹਨਾਂ ਜਿੰਨੇ ਵੀ ਪੰਜ ਸਿੰਘ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਛਕਾ ਕੇ ਫਿਰ ਪੰਜ ਸਿੰਘ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਤਾਂ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤ ਛਕਾਤਾ ਤਾਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਤਾਂ ਸਿੰਘ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਬਣ ਗਏ ਤੇ ਹੁਣ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਾਡੇ ਲਈ ਕੀ ਕਰੋਗੇ ਤਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਨੇ ਇਹ ਆਖਿਆ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਮੈਂ ਆਪਣਾ ਪੂਰਾ ਪਰਿਵਾਰ ਵਾਰ ਦੂੰਗਾ he will sacrifice his whole of his family and his kids and everything else when the time comes. And ਫਿਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਪੰਜ ਸਿੰਘ ਸੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਫਿਰ ਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਨੂੰ ਛਕਾਇਆ and ਉੱਥੋਂ ਫਿਰ from Guru Gobind Rai he then became Guru Gobind Singh Rai and so ਉੱਥੋਂ ਫਿਰ ਨਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਹੋਇਆ ਸੀਗਾ and then many people don't actually know that and it's the start of Sikhism, start of our faith and that's why we celebrate it nowadays. But I think a lot of people don't understand the history behind it. And if you don't understand the history behind it, go do some research. I mean, the best way for myself personally, and I'm quite young, and the media generation, and not everyone in my generation will understand it. But when I go to the Gurdwara, the best way that I look at it, and some people think it can be personal to everyone. And the way I see it is sit down, listen to Gurbani, and just try and sit there and just talk to Waiguruji. It's the best feeling in the world. Do you agree, Uncle G?
I agree with 100%. And you know what? The word Sikh learn, disciple. That's exactly what that comes from. And if what really excites me or just brings it back to basics is the Panch Pyare, when they were baptized, they were from 5 different fields. They weren't Sikhs, they weren't Singhs before. I mean, Bhai Daya Singh Ji, a shopkeeper; Bhai Dharam Singh Ji, a farmer; Bhai Himmat Singh Ji, a water carrier; Bhai Makhan Singh Ji, a trailer from Gujarat; and then you got Bhai Sahib Ji, a barber. Now, what really amazed me is that there was no caste there. And this is why I strongly, I mean, I don't know if this comes across wrong, and please don't get me wrong, is even today, some of the Sikhs were being cast into it. And when you see the Panch Pyare from Gujarat, to different what they were, he didn't say, okay, what's your caste? What's your caste? They had faith in their guru, and they went out clean slate. I said, right, I'm starting my life all over again now with my guru, who's gonna hopefully mentor me and make me go forward in the best. But they had faith in him. That's why what he did, it was key, because he had to make a point, and the point was have faith. If you know the man upstairs, you believe, because we get a lot of challenges in our life, and sometimes we go to the Gurdwara and we pray. Are we praying that the challenge? Because I sometimes say to people, life is not easy. You're going to have challenges, but the man above will help you through those challenges. You may not see it now, but that's called faith, because if you have faith in him, ਅੱਗੇ ਵਧੋਗੇ. ਸੋ ਸਿੱਖੀ ਦੀ ਇਹ ਗੱਲ ਆ ਕਿ ਅੰਦਰੋਂ ਜੋਸ਼ ਚੜ੍ਹ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਜਦੋਂ ਵਿਸਾਖੀ ਆਉਂਦੀ ਆ, ਖੁਸ਼ੀਆਂ ਮਨਾਈਏ, ਪਰ ਨਾਲ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਦੇਖੋ ਕਿਹੜੀਆਂ sacrifices were made. Understand the sacrifice they made. So today, Sikhi stands out, and people can, the star hunde, everything that you get baptized and everything else. It's easy to get. I won't say easy. Amrit ਛਕ ਲੈਂਦੇ ਆ, ਪਰ ਇਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਮਤਲਬ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤ ਛਕ ਲਿਆ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਸਾਰੀ ਬਾਣੀ ਦਾ ਪਤਾ ਮੈਨੂੰ, ਇਹ ਗਲਤ ਆ. Bani is bought, it's so deep. Even I probably know 1% of it. It's just sometimes I look at my mum and dad and Amritari Ege, and they don't say to me, Amrit shaklo, aha karlo, eh karlo. They say, Pot yure tora time aa gaya, aap kar lo. There's never a right time. People say, I'm not ready for Amrit yet. It's like saying, I'm not ready to go to work either. But when you go on that step, you become accountable. So as soon as you take that step, Vaheguru Di Kirpa comes all over you. And it's like, wow, it transforms you. I get so excited talking about it, because I just, not recently, just know that there's a connection. And sometimes लोग कहते मैं गोदर जाके की मैं बोलना अपने मन च कही जाओ जो भी कहना. He's listening to you. You could say it in English, you could say it in Arabic, Punjabi. The message he will get. Remember, every language is different, but it goes to one.
Something that's personal to my heart as well. So when I always say to people, when Waiguji is my best friend, because without Waiguji I wouldn't be where I am today. But that is my belief. And when I go to the Gurdwara, it doesn't matter whether I speak to him in English or whether I speak to him in Punjabi or whether I speak to him in Hindi, whichever language or whichever form I speak to Waiguji, that is my time with Waiguji. That is my time with my father, with my mother. He's the ultimate universe for me. If don't just look at him and don't just go to him when you've got problems. Go to him when you've got the good times and the bad times. Because ਕਈ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਕਿ ਜਦੋਂ ਨਾ ਔਖਾ ਟਾਈਮ ਆਉਂਦਾ ਹੈ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਤਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਉੱਤਰ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਦੌੜਦੇ ਦੇ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਦੇ ਕੋਲ ਕਿ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਹੋ ਗਈ ਹੁਣ ਕੁਝ ਕਰੋ. ਪਰ ਜਦੋਂ ਨਾ ਚੰਗਾ ਵਕਤ ਆਉਂਦਾ ਆ ਤਾਂ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਕਿਰਪਾ ਕਰਦੇ ਉਹ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਚੇਤਾ ਭੁਲਾ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਕਿ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰੇ ਕੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਆ, ਮੱਥਾ ਕੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਆ, ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਦਾ ਸ਼ੁਕਰਾਨਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਦੇ. So it's very important, even in the good and the bad, that we actually, because in every little thing, there's a blessing and there is a lesson. And they say, don't they, that there's a reason why everything happens. And
Sorry, no, I agree with you. And there are blessings, a lot of blessings, but it's whether you believe those blessings are for you or for somebody else. You know, we say, kirit kamai seva karo. You know, the art of living is giving. You know, it's not about meko kinna kocha. Who are you becoming? You know, Amr Shaklanea, and I say this with the greatest of respect, is Amr Shaklanea, but who are you really becoming? Because if you look at when you're Amrishak, you're portraying, God has given you this, it's about you understanding not only yourself, but people, humanitarian causes. What are you going to do? Sometimes people don't understand this, and I know where they come from, even the youngsters. I mean, I see a lot of youngsters, and I love seeing youngsters go to the Godwara, Ramal Ove, Pagove, whatever, Matha take there. And I think, are they Matha taking just for because someone told them, or they go genuinely? I want to know about our Sikhi because it is so powerful that you understand that what our gurus went to get to where they are now. And today we could take it all. "Theek hai, qurbaniyan dete hain." It's not like that. I'm so honored to be a Sikh. So it gives me, every time I say, I get goosebumps inside because Sikh is, it's a way of life. But you got to understand it. You got to understand the connection.
Some people, you know, ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਅਸੀਂ ਆ ਬਣਨਾ ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋ ਆ ਚੀਜ਼ ਹੋਵੇ that's great, do all of that you want to do, that's your goals, that's your administration, you know, that's your, you know, you admire that, you want to become that. At the same time, like you said, Uncle Ji, you know, think of what the type of person that you're becoming, because ਜਿਸ ਦਿਨ ਤੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਜਾਣਾ ਇਸ ਧਰਤੀ ਤੋਂ ਸਾਰਾ ਕੁਝ ਤਾਂ ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਣਾ ਹੈਗਾ, we're gonna leave everything behind. So ਜੋ ਵੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਭਾਗ ਦੌੜ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਕਿ ਇਦਾਂ ਦੀ ਗੱਡੀ ਹੋਵੇ, ਇਦਾਂ ਦਾ ਘਰ ਹੋਵੇ, ਉਹ ਸਾਰਾ ਕੁਝ ਇੱਥੇ ਹੀ ਰਹਿ ਜਾਣਾ ਆ, ਹੈਨਾ। ਦਰਗਾਹੀ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਕਿਹਨੇ ਦੇਖਿਆ ਵੀ ਕੌਣ ਕਿਸ ਨੂੰ ਮਿਲਦਾ, ਤੇ ਜਗਜੂੰਦਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਮੇਲੇ ਆ, ਹੈਨਾ। And when we're doing all of that, but it's like you said, you know, when you leave this earth, what do you want people to remember you by? What's the person? How do you come as a person? Because, you know, as you know, we're talking about Sikkim, we're talking about Vaisakhi, ਤੇ ਜਦੋਂ ਵਿਸਾਖੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਉਦੋਂ ਨਵਾਂ ਸਾਲ ਚੜ੍ਹਦਾ ਆ, ਤੇ ਜਦੋਂ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤ ਛਕਦੇ ਆ ਵਿਸਾਖੀ ਵਾਲੇ ਦਿਨ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਇੱਕ ਨਵਾਂ ਜਨਮ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਆ, ਹੈਨਾ। ਐਂਡ ਜਦੋਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਨਵਾਂ ਜਨਮ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਆ, ਤਾਂ ਉਹ ਗੁਰੂ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਦੀ ਕਿਰਪਾ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਆ, that you've actually got that opportunity to do that. And when you do become that, you know, you got that new transform of life, you've been baptized, you know, on Vaisakhi. When that happens, you've got an opportunity to now become a person, better yourself, and become a better version of yourself. So one day when you leave, you kind of leave a legacy behind. ਲੋਕੀ ਚੰਗੀਆਂ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਕਰਨ, ਕਿ ਕਹਿਣ this person ਬਹੁਤ ਬੰਦਾ good ਸੀਗਾ, ਇੱਦਾਂ ਸੀ, you know, people remember you for who you are, ਹੈਨਾ। because that person ਜਿੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਪੂਰੇ ਜਗ ਤੇ ਜਿੰਦਾ when you're remembered like that, but people don't realize that.
Kiran, what you just said there is so important because people don't remember how many cars, how many houses, what you did, what you had. They remember all the attributes and the service you did in other people's lives. It's what you give back to people. And you're right, nothing's going to go back with you. Steve Jobs, very wealthy, created an amazing Apple empire, but kiga naal kuch nahi. His legacy has left and he's made an impact. What impact do people want to give today? We celebrate Vaisakhi, and you know, we have processions, we have kirtan, nagar kirtans, and when the whole congregation gets together, up a josh aanda. You see people, you know, the orange, the stars, the chunniya, and sare. There's some sort of feeling. Next time, if you go to any nagar, look around and look at people and see the expressions on their face that yes, I do believe this. And it's when you see that, you know, you can stand upright and say, my faith is strong. It doesn't mean you go around trying to teach people about, you know, trying to convert people to Sikh. No. You just talk about Sikh. My dad gives us, he always tells us stories. And a great way to connect with somebody is tell Sikh stories. Tell about the old times, you know, the Gurujis, what they did and Bani. And I'm always asking my dad because he knows so much depth about Sikh. And he even today says, but I don't know everything. And sometimes you just got to be nimratara, humble enough to say, Manu sab kuch nahi pata. but जिन्नी मैनू बाणी तो पता है उन्ना मैं तुम दस सकता है. Because what I see nowadays is log, you know, and there's great preachers out there that practice it, and I love seeing that because they have so much knowledge of it, and they baptize Sikhs, and I respect what they've done and what they're teaching out there. But sometimes I see people that Amr Shakli, and unfortunately, and I say again with the greatest of respect, this is not trying to derogate anybody in any way. It's just that if you're going to preach it, make sure you practice it. I don't preach it, I don't practice it, but I know what's within me to know that I've got my connection with Vaheguru. And I just say it in a simple way that if I can humbly bless somebody by just speaking to him, everything's Vaheguru di Kirpa hai, Vaheguru di Kirpa hai. And that's enough.
You know, it doesn't have, if you don't understand part or anything like that, ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸ਼ਬਦ ਵੀ ਸੁਣਦੇ ਆ ਉਹ ਚ ਵੀ ਗੁਰਬਾਣੀ ਆ ਹੈਨਾ. That's also a way of listening to part.
Kiran, you know what? There's sometimes nowadays there's a lot of translations. So even if you don't know what Bani people, I don't understand Punjabi, there's information that's available from everywhere, and the youngsters have access to this. So you can't. It's a poor excuse to say I don't understand Punjabi. I read it, but it's translated in English, and this is why the generation to understand that it is available, but you got to go and access it.
And I just hope that, you know, all of you that are actually watching, you know, that this kind of inspires you and, you know, makes you want to learn about your own culture. You know, I'm hoping that this, you know, that today's episode actually helps people to go out and actually, you know, go to the Gurdwara. If you haven't been to a Gurdwara, you know, and ਸਾਰੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਹੈਗੇ, ਕੋਈ ਐਸਾ ਵੀ ਹੈਗਾ ਦੁਨੀਆ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ that's never been to a Gurdwara before. But that's because they've never been told about it or they don't know about their culture. Go to Gurdwara, you know, see what's around you and sit there and feel, even if you sit there for 2 minutes. We're not saying you know, you have to convert to Sikhi, you know, this is it. If you don't believe in it or anything like that, just go for the experience and just sit there for 2 minutes. And you ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਸਾਡੀ ਫੈਮਿਲੀ ਚ ਹਮੇਸ਼ਾ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਇਹੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਹੀ ਆ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜਦੋਂ ਇੱਕ ਕਦਮ ਰੱਖਦੇ ਆ ਤਾਂ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਮੋਰੇ 4 ਕਦਮ ਰੱਖਦੇ ਆ. You know, if you put one step forward to Guruji, Guruji will put 4 steps forward for you, and he will always be your protector in everything and anything. So sometimes when something bad happens or something happens, we kind of say, why is it always me? But like you said, Unkuchi, it's not because, why is it because of me? It's because God is challenging you because he has something better planned for you. You know, and to
Every
the Vaisakhi,
every challenge you have is a sign of growth. It's not to
yeah.
say I can't handle it, because you imagine in Guru Gobind Singh's days all the challenges he had with the Mughals and everything else. Where did he look up to? Akal Purkh. That's where he looked to, nothing, and that's where he got his strength from. But he had another challenge and another challenge and another challenge, and it made him stronger and stronger and stronger. And so, you know, sometimes we get up in the mornings and I say, okay, Vaheguru, I know you're going to give me some challenges. Help me just reflect them in a way that I can handle them. I don't mind challenges. And the viewers out there today may be watching. If you got a challenge in your life, let's see how we can handle it. But you got to pray to him because he will give you the solution. But sometimes you got to have faith for the solution.
This is it. And not just that, like Jada Vaisakhi Andiya, we look at Vaisakhi, it's a new year. For many of us, it's Nama Saal Chadya Vaisakhi da. And it's the Punjabi New Year of, you know, of the ki Vaisakhi aayi aaj Nama Saal Chadya Sikhan le, the Punjabiyan le. And it's celebrated across the whole world. And it's celebrated in so many different ways. You know, kei gurdware jande a, kei ghar paat karde a. But one of the biggest things that actually happens, and one of the things that I want to tell all my viewers watching this, ਕਿ ਜਦੋਂ ਨਾ ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤ ਛਕਾਉਂਦੇ ਆ ਤਾਂ ਅਖੰਡ ਪਾਠ ਚੱਲਦਾ ਆ. The reason why they call it ਅਖੰਡ ਪਾਠ is because ਉਹਨੂੰ ਖੰਡਿਤ ਕੀਤੇ ਬਿਨਾ ਪੂਰਾ ਪਾਠ ਚੱਲਦਾ for 3 continuous days and it doesn't stop. You know, ਉਹਨੂੰ on the last day ਭੋਗ ਪੈ ਕੇ ਫਿਰ ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤ ਬਣਦਾ ਤਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਛਕਾਉਂਦੇ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ. And that's a very, very strong meaning. It's a very strong thought to think of. कि 3 दिन पाठ चलदा. And we have Khan parts. When people say we're going to go to a Khan part, people don't really understand. People just say, oh yeah, part, we're just going to go. Asina mata teke aa jana hai. Even when we get our own invitations from our families or anything like that, we just say, oh yes, I Khan part hai, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਜਾਣਾ ਹੈ ਅਸੀਂ ਮੱਥਾ birthday ਆ, so ਉਹਨਾਂ Khan part ਰੱਖਿਆ, but they don't actually understand what the Akhand Path means. Akhand Path ਉਹ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਆ ਜਿਹੜੇ 3 ਦਿਨ ਅਖੰਡਿਤ ਕੀਤੇ ਬਿਨਾ 3 days it's part is done and it's carried out to make sure that everyone is protected, everyone is loved, and Guruji's blessings are always on us. I hope this has actually helped you guys today. Is there any messages that you want to say, Nkuji, before we go today?
All I can say is, you know what, Vaheguru Kirpa, thank you, Kiran. You do an amazing job, and well done to you, first of all, for just taking that step of faith. And what you're doing right now is to impact some people's lives. And some of them may be wanting to say, I'd love to do what Kiran does. And you know what? It's great to see someone young like yourself trying to put this message out there so people understand it. We're not saying, you know, become a baptized Sikh, whatever. It's just that understanding your religion, understand your culture of where you come from, because a lot of the youth today are so excited about it. And Josh Chardaya, all I can suggest is Josh Charda, but andro vi sahi karo. Any baro Joshya. And I'll say this a little story which a young lady I know, she's from Lithuania, and she comes into my shop now and then, and we talk to her. And she came in, she had a few challenges in her life, and someone told her to go to the Gurdwara. And she goes, when I went to the Gurdwara, I sat there, and she goes, I was just I don't know what the word, but she was just but Bonnie, she didn't understand it, but she was at peace. Cut a long story short, she now comes into the shop with her son, and she goes, you wouldn't know. She goes, Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. That's a Lithuanian lady, right, who her background is from Christianity. We haven't converted her. She was just trying to find herself. And she went to the Gurdwara, and something happened to her. She goes, I don't know what it was, but I connected. Sometimes you don't know where the connection is going to come from. And that's why we encourage Gurdwara Jao, Matha Teko, but don't look for, or don't try to bargain with Guruji. Don't try to ask for things. Because sometimes, you know, you say, Sache Pasha, Matha Tekta 10 paise lo, tamil lottery lag jire. That's bartering. You can't barter with the Guruji. You got to understand, Andro, Mafi, whatever you done, Galti, just love everybody you can. And it's about making amends, because I think this whole year, people have realized that this pandemic, whatever's happened, some people have missed families, they've lost families, and things have been bad. But I think everyone's looking forward to get together to celebrate, not just Vaisakhi now, but it's a sort of a regeneration that we've woke up again, reset the button, and now look for values and principles that, again, we've connected with families.
And not just, and even from what you were saying, Nkuji, also to add to that, you know, when we do come out this lockdown, you know, everyone's gone through their ups and their downs, and it's been challenging for everyone in one way or another, physically, mentally, emotionally, you know. पर ਸਾਨੂੰ ਇੱਕ ਗੱਲ ਅਸੀਂ ਚੇਤਾ ਭੁੱਲ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ ਕਿ ਸ਼ੁਕਰੀਆਨਾ ਕਰੋ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਦਾ ਕਿ that we've got all these breaths that we're breathing, because ਇਹ ਸਾਹ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਸਾਡੇ ਹੈਗੇ. The breaths are not ours, they're Guruji's. You know, the day that ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਉੱਠਦੇ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗੇ ਕਿ ਠਹਿਰ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀ ਹਜੇ ਮੈਂ ਬਥੇਰਾ ਕੁਝ ਕਰਨਾ ਹੈ ਨਾ, that doesn't, it's not necessarily that's gonna happen to everyone. Throughout the pandemic, like you've said, we've lost so many different people. ਉੱਠ ਕੇ ਸ਼ੁਕਰੀਆਨਾ ਕਰੋ ਕਿ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਤੇਰਾ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ ਕਰਦੇ ਕਿ ਅੱਜ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਇੱਕ ਦਿਨ ਹੋਰ ਮਿਲਿਆ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀ ਦਾ, ਹੈ ਨਾ. And people don't realize that. And when we even say Waheguru Ji Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh, people, some people, and this is no disrespect to anyone that's watching this, you know, some people don't understand it and they throw it about. When we say Waheguru Ji Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh, the meaning behind it is, and that's something that we've always been taught in our family, कि ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਫਤਿਹ ਬੁਲਾਉਂਦੇ ਆ ਇਹਦਾ ਮਤਲਬ ਕਿ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਦਿਨ ਵੀ ਫਤਿਹ ਫਤਿਹ ਜਾਊਗਾ। Everything will be in God's grace and everything will happen। ਜੋ ਮਾਲਿਕ ਦੀ ਮਰਜ਼ੀ ਲਿਖੀ ਹੋ ਉਹੀ ਹੋਣਾ। ਜੋ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੇਰਾ ਦਾਣਾ ਪਾਣੀ ਲਿਖਿਆ ਆ ਉਹ ਹਰ ਹਾਲ 'ਚ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਮਿਲਣਾ। ਤੇਰਾ ਲਿਖਿਆ ਤੇ ਤੂੰ ਕੋਈ ਲੈ ਨਹੀਂ ਸਕਦਾ ਹੈਗਾ। ਤੇ ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਨੂੰ ਮੰਨਦੇ ਆ ਤਾਂ ਉਹਦਾ ਸ਼ੁਕਰੀਆ ਅਦਾ ਵੀ ਕਰਦੇ। ਜਿਹੜਾ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਲਿਖਿਆ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਮਿਲ ਸਕਦਾ। But you can't, like Uncle G said, you can't just go to the Gurdwara and just bargain with God and say, here's 10p, please God, please give me this. You also need to believe in yourself and believe in Him. And for some people, you don't have to show it and open it out to everyone that you believe in Waiguji. For some people, it's a very personal thing. For me to actually come out today and tell you that I actually practice it, for me is very personal because I actually go to the Gurdwara when I can go. I don't practice it all the time, but I know that Waiguji lives in my heart. And from a very young age, I've always said that Waiguji is my best friend. And even when I was bullied as a kid or anything like that, I always thought Waiguji was my protector and he was my best friend. And I would sit there, pray and talk to him, whether it was in English or whether it was in Punjabi. So I hope you guys can take something away from this and learn that Vaisakhi is a wonderful time for all Sikhs, for everyone around the world. And, Guruji's Gurdwara is open to everyone. There's langar that we have, and the doors are open to anyone and everyone. And that's not just to our community, that's to anybody. We're not saying that you need to, transform from being a Christian to a Sikh. It's your choice. It's your choice to go to the Gurdwara or your choice not to go to the Gurdwara. But if you take 2 steps towards Vaiguji, you might find a little bit of peace in yourself when you do it. Just sit there and just breathe and just, even if you enchant Satnam Vaiguru, in that ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਕਾਫੀ ਕੁਝ ਸਿੱਖਣੇ ਨੂੰ ਮਿਲ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਆ। And there's a lot of power if you actually take 2 steps or even just 1 step in front of Waiguji. So for everyone that's celebrating Vaisakhi, whether it's going to the Gurdwara this year or whether it's you're at home celebrating it and you're isolating, I hope you guys have a very nice Vaisakhi. Thank you, Uncle Ji, for coming on the show. I really appreciate your time. And I hope ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਚੜ੍ਹਦੀ ਕਲਾ 'ਚ ਰੱਖੇ। And ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਨਾ ਵਿਸਾਖੀ ਦਾ ਜੋ ਸਾਲ ਚੜ੍ਹਿਆ ਉਹ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਚੜ੍ਹਨਾ ਆ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਸੋਹਣਾ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਵੇ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੇ। ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਤਾਂ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ।